Booker with Tucker defending. Got up in the air, Holiday took it away. Holy shit! Oh my goodness! Yo!
It's amazing.
Oh my God!
Bro, what the fuck?
Hey yo, what the fuck? Huh?
What the hell was that?
Yo!
It's really ridiculous.
What
Yes,
the fuck?
This is ridiculous, man. Ridiculous.
What the fuck? Giannis Antetokounmpo is one win away from a championship, a definite finals MVP, more on that later. And if Milwaukee is able to close out, he will be throwing that on top of all NBA teams, all-stars, defensive player of the year, and 2 MVPs. That will be one of the more accomplished resumes in NBA history at the age of 26. More on that later. But first, how did we get here? Seriously, all in the span of under a year, we've went from Giannis signing an extension, which was baffling given the state of the NBA and what he could have done to solidify himself as a champion. We went from that event to him having one of the strongest finals performances in history, placing him 1 win away from the gold. A win that would also block Chris Paul from, I'm going to say, ever winning a championship, because I just, everything was laid out perfectly this year. I don't think he's going to get a better shot than this. More on that later. The Bucks deserve credit. The Bucks deserve credit. People are going to have their opinions about this run, what would have happened if guys were healthy. Really nothing much different than we get every year when somebody gets hurt and it completely changes the trajectory of what could have happened. But what is happening is the Bucks have just figured it out with every situation that they've been presented up to this point. Even if they should have gotten past certain situations easier than they did, they figured it out. And that's particularly what's happening in this final series. So we are in the midst of a possible reverse sweep. The Bucks are the first team since the 06 Heat to win 3 straight games after going down 0-2. They lose those first 2 games in Phoenix, and there's a lot of interesting things that happen there. So first of all, there was the Suns' pretty much unstoppable pick and roll. Well, unstoppable in the way it was being guarded. So Brook Lopez and drop coverage a lot. Brook Lopez just as a defender in the pick and roll, it wasn't ideal. From a matchup standpoint, it wasn't ideal. There's not a lot you can do with him defensively there. And on Milwaukee's side, it's easy for fans to say, oh, just sit Brook Lopez, don't play him. But if you're Budenholzer, that's tough. He is a stretch big, he shoots the 3-ball efficiently. It's hard to just take that chess piece off the board and say we're not going to use it at all. But when you do use it, you just have that built-in disability on defense. It happens. The Bucks have pretty much countered with more center minutes for Giannis, which I'm not stat muse. I don't have the number on how many center minutes he's played this series versus others, but just from watching, it seems like it's been more. You see that lineup with him out there and Bobby Portis. You see that a lot more than you used to, I believe. And instead of just handing the Suns mid-range shots while the center's in drop coverage, you see a lot of switching. Bobby Portis, who I would really like to get this stat, how many points have been scored on him when he switches, because that's what you see a lot. You see full switches with Portis on Chris Paul, Portis on Booker. And things I've been noticing as we've been watching these games is a lot of the times he will, well, first of all, his activity is definitely better than Brook Lopez. He's quicker than Lopez at least. And he does get good contests on a lot of the shots. Now, Paul and Booker still make them. They'll just make difficult shots, but it's better than the open ones that Lopez gives and drop. So I've liked Portis' activity there. And then he's giving you a lot of hustle on the other side, a lot of 50-50 plays, hitting some threes. You really just can't underrate some of the gaps that Portis has filled for this Bucks team in this series specifically. So with him giving you those plays, even if he is going to get scored on in a switch, it's still better activity, and you feel good about having him out there on the offensive end. Therefore, you can do more Giannis center minutes. You could do them with PJ Tucker at the power forward as well, but obviously with Portis, I think you're getting a bit more size. It's a bit more helpful to have him at the power forward position. That's one of the things I think that has helped the Bucks in this comeback just structurally. Then there's the obvious parts. Chris Middleton, Jrue Holiday. Beginning of this series, there were points where they just didn't even look like starters. Specifically in game 2, that's where Giannis just decided he was going to have to win the game by himself. Got within striking distance, but just could not do it. Nobody's going to win a series like that, let alone very many games when you have to just have a one-man wrecking crew, one-man offense. Tried that. But the interesting thing about those games was a lot of people are going, well, before last night, a lot of people were saying, man, there's only been one close game this series. Everything else has been blowouts. But if you were actually watching the games, they were within striking distance. They were at arm's length with a chance to make it closer, with a chance chance to maybe come back and take the lead. What I'm trying to say is the Suns had never really truly ran away with the momentum until like the very end of the game. Now, it's fascinating because you were saying, okay, what if you had just gotten some decent shooting from just one of Jrue Holiday and Middleton? How would this have gone? And in the last 3 games, you kind of see how it would have gone. You're going to get what you're going to get from Giannis. The Suns don't have a palpable defender for him. He is attacking DeAndre Ayton very purposely with a lot of intent. I think you specifically saw it at the second half of Game 5 last night where Giannis just said, okay, this guy, he doesn't have a chance, so I'm going to put all the pressure on him, maybe make the defense collapse, or I'm just going to score. So he's going to get his whenever he wants. He's cleaning up a lot of plays, getting points that way, playing a lot more like a big man, hanging around the rim in the post area, so when he doesn't have the ball, thank God, not making things more difficult for his teammates. So things are working out for Giannis one way or the other. He's like a guaranteed 30 ball. But when you can also start a game with either Chris Middleton or Jrue Holiday creating with the ball, that just opens up an entire different world, which is what happened in these last 3. Also, the way it's finishing. So Game 5, Jrue Holiday's best game by leaps and bounds, but even as he's been shooting piss poor throughout the series, he's made a defensive impact. So when you added the offense last night, it's just like, okay, that's overwhelming. That was very timely too. This is his Game 5. 72% of Game 5 winners go on to win the series. There's not a better game other than a potential Game 7 that he could have had that performance in. But Middleton, you're going to him to close. You're going to him every time the momentum is maybe getting away from the Bucks. You're going to him when you need to stay in a game, even if he starts off shooting questionably. As of late, he's getting his. Pat Connaughton, as of last night, or some way through the game last night, was the second best 3-point shooter in the series statistically. And that's also great because the way he started the series defensively, you were like, damn, they are really missing Dante DiVincenzo right now. But just by playing his role and doing what he can do best, he's helped the Bucks fill these gaps that were making this look like a matchup nightmare when the series started. Now, if you're the Suns, the way this one is getting away from you is you're just not getting enough from your most important pieces, the way the Bucks are right now. So the Bucks are doing good with their roster. Devin Booker, it's crazy how it got overshadowed that he's got also 2 straight 40-point games in the finals. Giannis was just the first player to do that since Braun. Devin Booker did it, except they lost both of those games. And that's never happened before. And I said it as I was watching the game last night where Booker was getting his points, even though the game ended up close and very easily could have swung to the Suns there in the last few seconds. I was kind of thinking, if you're the Bucks, you're kind of happy with how this is happening, because save for when Booker beats somebody off the dribble and gets a layup, with those times when he gets straight to the rim, a lot of his shots are really, really tough. And he's just that good, that's going to happen. But when the Suns are down 10 last night and you're getting Devin Booker just masterclasses from the mid-range, but they're contested, I was kind of like, well, you never want a shot to go in, but if you're Milwaukee and you're on and you got 3 guys, you got a 3-pronged attack, and the Suns are living by tough Devin Booker shots, I kind of like that theme for the rest of the series. I'll be okay with that if Devin Booker is going to go off and just hit those, but then Chris Paul is going to be dribbling the ball off of his foot and shooting, having a tough shooting night up until the 4th quarter. I will live with that. Paul hit some important shots last night, and it was in the most important time. It was during their comeback in the 4th quarter. But before that, and for the just last 2 games in general, he hasn't been great. So Paul has just been okay and not great, which is that's a problem because the Bucks, as of late, have been great. So you talk about Booker doing what he's doing, Paul just being okay, and Aiden has his moments, but he needs more of them. Especially right now, he needs more of them. So with Milwaukee switching everything, look off ball, and what you'll often see is that Aiden ends up with a size advantage in the paint. Now, this is one of those moments where I say I don't know more basketball than the people on the court, but I don't understand sometimes why when you have that switch, you'll go with the Devin Booker ISO against Bobby Portis instead of throwing it down to Aiden and either getting him going or causing the defense to collapse. And if you do it quick, you stop that rotation where off ball, the Bucks will be able to recover. So there was a play where I believe Jrue Holiday is guarding Aiden. Once the ball kind of swings, they let some seconds pass, they'll go ahead and switch that down low and you'll get Giannis on Aiden, or whoever, you'll get more size. Whoever has more size, they will switch that. And even if Booker makes the shot on a switch, which he often does, I was just kind of like, yeah, Aiden, he's got good hands, he has great moments, but you really gotta punish the Bucks for just saying we're just gonna switch everything and we're gonna create mismatches in the interest of not letting you put us in drop, or in the interest of you not putting us in rotation. And yeah, there were multiple plays where they just did not even look at Aiden. So I was shocked to see that, because I think You see this is working for the Bucks, where 3 guys are getting touches. Well, specifically last night. Yeah, Holiday's been bad pretty much offensively every time before that. But the Bucks are moving it around, and it's not just Giannis. It's not just one guy. So I think that's what's become a bit of the Suns' problem. And then, away from the X's and O's and structure stuff, now the Bucks just have all the momentum. They've got the last 2 iconic plays of the series so far. Giannis's block on Aiden, which people started trying to debate that and what type of pass was thrown from Booker. Shut the fuck up, bro. It was impressive regardless. I understand your argument. Yeah, the lob pass was thrown pretty high and Aiden barely caught it, but Giannis still had to go from showing on the ball handler and turning around and touching the top of the square to block that one. That's impressive regardless, and if they win this series, that will go down as one of the greatest blocked in finals history, point blank period. That's written. And then the alley-oop, which if I put it at the beginning of this video, if I didn't get lazy, I put my reaction to it when we were watching it on Twitch. Yeah, just masterful defensive play from Holiday, timely defensive play, and he threw a very high lob, and but he just threw it to Giannis. Know your personnel, right? Chris Paul damn near pushed him out of air. That could have been ugly. Instead, it turned into an and one, to which they could not secure the rebound because Giannis missed so badly. And yeah, those are just going back to Milwaukee. It's tough. It's tough now because you start thinking about everything that's on the line. This franchise having not won a championship since 1970, back when Kareem and Oscar, whatever year that was, the 70s, early 70s. You're here with a chance to close it out on your home floor, and you've strung together great games. You've won 3 straight. It's man, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say anything is impossible, but this is going to be very difficult the way it's trending. We're gonna need a Chris Paul masterclass. Going to need a Chris Paul masterclass, and with the state of his wrist, I don't know if his wrist is bothering him more than we originally thought or whatever is going on right now. He is not trending towards one of those, so I don't know. This will look really bad. It will not go down as a good series for him, and it'll go down probably as his only chance at a championship, and the path was just laid. Every Western Conference opponent was injured, and you get here and lose to the one healthy team, and you don't have a good series when you do it. That's just gonna be hard to overlook when you start doing rankings and all that good stuff. Meanwhile, on the Bucks side, you're looking at Giannis saying, was he even supposed to play in this series? I still, for a while, am going to be questioning how he had the type of injury that he had against the Hawks and wound up putting on a dominant finals performance a week later. That's extremely questionable. That's extremely questionable. What's not questionable is the finals MVP. So right now, if you're paying attention to the Twitterverse, not just NBA Twitter kids, but the actual players, you see some tweets from guys like CJ McCollum, Spencer Dinwiddie, kind of theorizing there being another finals MVP other than Giannis. And here's where I stand. With how legendary this has been for Giannis, coming back from the injury, the iconic moments, the legendary numbers that he's put up, when you factor all that in, and if they close this out in 6, he actually very well might win the finals MVP unanimously. If he doesn't, I can see Chris Middleton getting some finals MVP votes, because him going from playing like a G League player to a superstar in the finals really has been the difference. Even when Giannis was putting up numbers, they weren't winning until Middleton started putting up his end of the deal. So with him closing and hitting important shots at the end of games, yeah, I could see some votes going to him, but there's just no way that he's gonna win it though, unless game 6 is so lopsided in Middleton's favor and they close out. So Middleton put up like 40 and Giannis ended up with like 15. That's the only possible way I can see Middleton ending up winning finals MVP. And then he still might not. So that's opened up this question about Giannis and his peers and why he doesn't get celebrated by his peers like a lot of the other superstars do, i.e. Chris Paul and Devin Booker. You don't see other players tweeting about Giannis, and you even see disrespect from other players, like Harden's comments in the past about him, which were they were a response to this, but he said how he really felt. You saw him in the Nets series during his free throw routine. Some of these guys really don't like and can't stand him, and it's understandable. He has not had to join a super team to go get this done. He's not all buddy with other superstars, working out with them in the summer. He's doing all this really young and early. So again, 26, he's about to have all this on his resume. A lot of people are starting to look at that probably and say, oh damn, this dude might pass me. Remember, people always want you to do good but not better than them. So I think there's probably a lot of things that go into it. Maybe people feel like he's not deserving because of the injuries that happened on this run, to which I call bullshit. So if we work our way backwards, first of all, the Hawks win was still impressive because without Giannis, the Bucks were able to go on and close that series out. There was no Trae Young on the other side, so it was just those two cores without their best players, and that could have went either way, and the Bucks did it quite convincingly. So rewind to the Nets series, which they would have absolutely won if they were healthy. Of course, nobody would have beat Kyrie, KD, and Harden. In the NBA, nobody would have beaten that team healthy, I'm convinced. But I have said before, with previous super teams. The validity of a championship does not hinge on your ability to beat the fucking Justice League. If you can't beat 3 of the best offensive players of all time on the same team, nobody can. It's part of the reason I'm looking at LeBron's finals losses against the KD Warriors, and I'm like, yeah, he lost them, and it makes his record look worse, but I don't necessarily, care that much about those losses, because of course he was going to lose them. Everybody was going to lose that series, or those series. So yeah, a healthy Nets team washes Milwaukee, just like they wash everybody, but they weren't healthy. And oftentimes, a team with Kyrie on it isn't. It happened on the Celtics, it happened during his 15 run with the Cavs. This one was a freak injury, and people blamed Giannis for it. There was a certain section of people that blamed Giannis, but I'm just saying that it's happened before. It might happen again. So I'm not gonna X out the next few champions if they didn't beat a healthy Nets team. That's not really the standard. They conquered Miami, who, again, in the first round, people were kind of looking at it, and I don't think many people picked Miami this year. I know I didn't. But still, I was kind of like, all right, it's first round matchup against a team that upset you last year. It was a close game 1. I was wondering, but they conquered them completely. When Giannis smiled and I believe Trevor Ariza's face on the floor, I knew that was game. I absolutely knew that was game. Ball game, in the words of the great Paul George. You go, you beat the Hawks, then you play the Suns. It's sure, Dario Saric is hurt. Okay, if you want to throw that in there. The Bucks have done this run without Dante DiVincenzo. He could have been a very valuable role player in some of these series. They've beaten who's in front of them. They, yes, have made adjustments under coach Mike Budenholzer. And to what I can remember, most people were picking the Suns to win this series, even if it wasn't just for the love of Chris Paul. I think a lot of us thought the Suns were going to get this done. So if the Bucks beat them, they beat them, they're champions, and Giannis has a wild trajectory going forward. Possibly. Of course, he has to deal with the Nets for the next couple of years in his conference, but who knows? Literally, who knows? The way injuries happen these days and roster changes, who knows? All we know right now is that the Bucks up 3-2. Giannis is about to have a very valuable ring on his hand if he can close out. Chris Middleton as well. This is what people call winning a championship the right way. So they might want to take it away from them because the Nets series or whatever, but Giannis didn't recruit other superstars. He didn't do all the media circus. There was zero media circus. He just signed and said, I want to win a championship here. I can't remember if it was his first or second MVP parade where he said, don't call me MVP again until I bring home a title. He could have easily, in my mind, I was thinking last season, I'm like, damn, is he going to end up in Dallas with Luka and they're just going to go dominate the NBA for a while? No, he's done it here, man. It's mad respect. I wanted to see Chris Paul win a ring, but if he does not, it is mad respect to Giannis. This is impressive. Respect to Middleton and Drew Holiday for not completely using their confidence, especially Drew Holiday, and being useful when he wasn't useful on the offensive end. We'll see how it goes. This could still very well go to game 7, but if I had to bet, I just don't know that I could see Milwaukee being this close and dropping it. That would be pure pain if you're a Milwaukee fan or player. Well, let me know who you think is going to win this series. Do the Bucks close out in 6, or Phoenix in 7, or Bucks in 7? Would the Bucks really lose in Milwaukee then go and win a game 7 on the Suns' home floor? Would Chris Paul go out like that? Let me know. Also, hit the like button and sub if you enjoyed, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.